Hey everybody, Brian here. In this video I want to show you these two vehicles here. So this is Tucson NX4 model that came out in 2021, and now there's a revised version of that car. So in the video I want to run through the differences I see. These are the first ones that we've got, this one here. So this is going to be a Executive Plus model, and I'll have more videos to follow. So the first thing that's different on them is the key on the left was the Executive Plus key from 2021 onwards. So basically the functions on that key: lock, unlock. This is just to access the boot for power tailgate and stuff like that as well. The new key then is the more signature sort of brand style now, which is the Hyundai badge basically. So it's around the same size, a little bit bigger to be fair. Same functionality, lock, unlock. And then on the side, you can unlock the boot over here. So again, for a power tailgate. Okay, if you're clued into Hyundais, this next part might make sense. If not, then I'll try and explain it. But essentially, that was the Executive Plus. Nice, stylish front end. This reminds me of, that came in what's called an N-Line, which was a sportier version of that car, a little bit less common. This reminds me, which is this is the new version of that, and this is not the sporty version, but it actually looks really, really sporty. So, the traditional one over here, there was daytime running lights 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The indicators on this Executive Plus, this at the time was pretty much the highest spec that they came in. So there was LED front indicators, and then if you look, the front grille has these kind of angular shaped slats, whereas this one, they're more square. So those ones, they kind of had a bit of a sort of angle the way they went around. This one is more square and pronounced. If you look at the LEDs on the front for the daytime running lights, 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 5. I really like these indicators. They're really nice looking. So they are there's much more kind of presence when you see the car coming towards you. But once they're not indicating, they turn into daytime running lights to match these along through here as well. The headlights are similar at a glance, but they're not really. So the reason I say that is, let's just examine them from here for a sec. So at a glance, you kind of think they're quite similar looking. If you look at the internal composition on that, you can see the LEDs that are in there. Dipped headlights, full headlights. Similar concept over here. However, these are intelligent. So when you're driving around corners, what will happen is, or if there's a car in front of you, the lights will kind of stay around the car in front of you. If there's a car coming towards you, the lights will stay either side of it. So it's so intelligent that it tries to move the lighting around the obstacle. That is a super cool feature. We only had an Ioniq 6 so far. If you drive a car with this at night time, it is awesome. You will hate every other headlamp after using these ones. Okay, so let's look at the bottom. There was a skid plate along through here in brushed aluminium. There is also one here now, but it's way bigger and more aggressive looking. The front bumper kind of came up along through here. This one does as well, but again, way more aggressive. And then it's more of a sort of brushed dark grey sort of finish instead of what we see along through here. So this car, right, they're the same size car, but I don't know, maybe you won't agree or maybe you will, that actually looks like a bigger car. It's the exact same dimensions, it's just with that fatter bumper, it just looks more aggressive and bigger, much more presence. Two other things for anyone that's eagle-eyed. On the previous model, you had this kind of, I suppose, more of a grey sort of colour where the badge is. Whereas on the new version of the car, it's more of a real matte, dark kind of finished. And for anyone that's super observant, you'll see a little camera here. And you'll see some extra cameras here, 360 camera, I'll show you that inside. Okay, looking at the side of the cars in terms of the difference between them, really the main difference is the wheel style. So both of them are 19-inch wheels on Executive Pluses. If you're looking at a diesel, the wheel will be possibly most likely is an 18-inch wheel, whereas this hybrid is a 19-inch wheel, and that's the way it's always been. The wheels are different. Everything else is actually identical along through there. There's certain aspects of this car where they haven't made massive changes. Now, one thing that does strike me is you can see these really nice big LEDs a little bit more clearly on that model versus that one coming around the side, just the way they're shaped, that's all. I think it's important to highlight, there's certain aspects of this car which they haven't done massive changes on the side and the rear. And the reason for that is, this car has been selling quite well, 2021 onwards. There's an element here of, if something's working well, don't fiddle with it too much. The front end stuff that they've done on the car is really nice. Now the interior is the big change, but the rear, I always loved those LEDs that go all the way across like that, and there's such detail in those LEDs. I don't really know how you improve that on that car without making massive changes to the rear of the car. One thing that is different, if you look at the diffuser on the bottom on this, it was a smaller brushed aluminium one, whereas this one is a larger, again brushed aluminium, but it spans the larger parts of the bumper. And then if you look at the housing that's in there for the indicators and the reflectors and the fog light, they're a little bit different and lower to the ground. So when you drive up behind a car, it looks a bit lower to the ground at the bottom, and that usually kind of makes car look a little bit sportier as well. Okay, here's an unusual one, right? Something I've never commented on before. Just look at that there. There's a silver badge there, but it's a central section. But the wiper can only come down as far as that. It doesn't go over this, so it's a little bit restricted. So while these wipers used to kind of cover enough of an area, I found a bit of a gap. And I always kind of thought they could improve that, but I never thought they were going to. This one here, that's actually built into the rear screen. It's black, but it allows the wiper to cover way more area on the back. So that's actually something that a lot of people won't notice, but a sensible improvement. Okay, the following might seem obvious to a lot of people, but sometimes people do ask these things. The new model dimensions are identical, so the boot size is identical to what was there before. One thing actually I do see though is that is a normal halogen sort of light, whereas this one here is actually an LED. For anyone that's not familiar with Tucson, that boot is 620 litres. Now for anyone that's super eagle-eyed, yes, that is a plug-in, that is a non-plug-in. If that was plug-in or non-plug-in, it would look identical. So the plug-in version of an Executive Plus and the plug-in version of this and the non-plug-ins of either, they look identical. Does just happen to be the handiest car I could find for a comparison. Okay, so I did say there was big changes in the interior. There's a subtle change on the rear of the interior. It's more up front, but just to remind ourselves, this is the seating structure. There was 2 USB-A's in through there. Blinds up through here is Executive Plus. This is the style of sort of piano black and brushed aluminium that was on the doors. Piano black down through there, speakers in the rear, fine. Looking at the door cards on the rear, we don't have this kind of finish anymore, so they're going with this more sort of matching sort of leather style look along through there. Speakers and blinds are still there in the exact same places, child locks, all that kind of stuff, fine. However, one thing I do see, seating looks to be identical. However, we now have a really nice looking, a lot of people complained on the other one that they were surprised it didn't have rear ventilation, so we got 2 USB-Cs. That was USB-A, which is the traditional size. USB-C, a little bit smaller, but much faster to charge. And then there's ventilation in through here, and it's got this really nice digital screen for the rear passengers to use. That looks really classy and upmarket in my opinion. The biggest changes on the interior are on the front, so let's just refresh our memory on the first model. So again, like the rear door card, we'll see piano black and brushed aluminium there, whereas we have more of a kind of matching leather stitching along there, which will match what we see on the seating as well. Actually, that's new. This small little edge on the seat. Anyway, going to go back to that in a sec. So this is the seat, Napa on the outside, perforated on the inside with little holes is what I mean. Height adjustable seat, electric lumbar support, passenger seat is height adjustable as well. This is the style of steering, so we have these kind of 4 spokes along through there. We have this large area here. I'm just giving you a quick overview and I'm going to go more case by case in a sec. Okay, so this looks identical. Well, little differences there, but look at this. 3-spoke steering wheel, which I really like. And look then at the screens along there. It's one big curved screen compared to what we had as 2 independent screens from before. Massive armrest with some nice storage, bigger storage down through there, more tactile feel along through here. So I'm going to go through that in each different segment. So first section along here, electrics for windows, front and rear. Sorry, for some people that aren't already familiar with this car, this might be a bit boring. This is probably more for the people that might already have one of these and they want to see the differences. But electrics for windows, front and rear, central locking in through there, folding in the mirrors in and out, and then left or right mirror and all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind for a sec. And we're going to jump over to this one here. Flatter sort of buttons for locking, flatter buttons up here for pulling these in and out, left and right. Little bit more intuitive, I think, in how that works, because some people used to get a bit lost in how this, you know, folding button and where that works, and this button here was probably a little bit vague looking, whereas this one is a lot more easy to use. Right, let's look at the material on the seats. So leather, you have this nice design in through here, like we're saying, smooth on the outside, perforated, little holes that is on the inside, height adjustable over here for the passenger, whereas the revised version, again, same design here and here. Again, similar kind of perforated on the center. A little bit different up here, how it kind of spreads out. Flatter section. This little line along here along the seat is new, but one very cool thing, lumbar support for your passenger. And then while we're on the passenger seating setup, this is the setup that was here. So vent. There's a diffused ventilation that used to come in through there, which kind of blows it out very more spread out in a wider fashion. Along here, glove box, all that kind of stuff. Just keeping that in mind for a sec, when I was a young lad a million years ago, I started off with a 1986 Honda Civic. And it used to have this big shelf at the front, no airbags, nothing like that. And shelves kind of disappeared when airbags and all that kind of stuff came in. But they're starting to come back again, where you can actually put something in the front here. I think this is so basic, but so super cool and awesome. I love that. Along here, ventilation in through here, glove box down through there, and a really noisy recovery truck. 98, very tidy looking recovery truck, isn't it? Anyway, so let us move on to, say, this center section here. Armrest, storage, this is the previous model, remember? Drive, reverse, neutral, park. Up here we have things like eco and sport, and then heated seat, heated steering wheel, using the rear camera. Say if the boot is full and you want to be able to look out and your rear view mirror is blocked, you can turn on the camera instead. Heated seat for the passenger, wireless charging, USB-A, USB-A. So just keep this in mind for a sec. Let's get over to this one. This is lovely. So what you have, storage, drinks holders, wireless charging that was down there is here. You have the buttons up here for drive mode, like what we saw, eco and sport and all that kind of stuff there. The camera is there, parking sensors there. Right, in terms of the heated seats, they have moved from here up to the climate control area, which is sensible, and the heated steering wheel has moved from here up to here. That's a lovely finish on that. Anyway, storage, USB-C, USB-C. So you can basically charge and gather data, and then a 12 volt in through there. So all the same features they're there, laid out differently. This is, the storage I think is better around here. That's way better. This armrest is lovely. I love it. And the fact that you can just leave your phone kind of when you're there, it's sort of not too far away, and the other one was buried a little bit further down. And the drinks holders there are very, very handy. I just think it looks a bit classier. Like, I like the way that's finished in there. It's upmarket looking. Again, just to refresh your memory, on the previous model we saw the driving commands are in through there on buttons. I'll be honest, the buttons, and I saw them on other brands as well, I was never a big fan of buttons. You know, they're grand, they are functional and you can use them easier. I just found these a little bit easier to use. Forwards, backwards, park. I know it's the same over there. I just feel that this fly-by-wire setup seems to respond a bit quicker, but the fact that that's over here is allowing more space over here. Okay, quick look at the console down here. You got the power boot set up in through here. Because the plug-in hybrid, you have a separate one for opening the fuel cap. Disregard that, because if the other car was plug-in hybrid, it would have a similar setup. So just those buttons, the way they're shaped, are over here now. Oh yeah, one other thing as well is 12 volt battery reset. I have a video on that. All the hybrids, even on the previous model, they had an ability to jump start themselves if the battery ever went dead. Anyway, I can show you that in another video. Right, okay, that's where the handbrake was. There, the handbrake on the new one is over here. And again, that's another reason why you're getting more space in through there, because they've moved some of the functions up to there, down to there, into there. Right, this steering wheel, this is what you had over here. So you had Bluetooth radio controls in through here, the paddles to go down the gears, the paddles to go up the gears. On an automatic version, obviously you wouldn't have them paddles if it was a manual diesel. Cruise control in through here, lane keep assist and all those kind of functions from there. And again, two spokes. Bearing that in mind, over to this one here. So, 3-spoke, I don't know why, I just like the 3-spoke. I feel that it's sportier, I don't know, I just like them. They're on the previous model, or sorry, the new model Kona as well, I just like them. Right, the stuff is switched sides. So the cruise control is moved over to the left. One interesting point, your cruise control is now adaptive. It wasn't on this, a lot of people used to ask about it. It just means when the car front slows down, you also slow down without having to use the brake pedal. Fine. After that, paddles are in the same place on these automatic versions, and the radio controls have moved across in through here. The wiper controls, and it is automatic lights, or sorry, automatic wipers, so they come on when it rains, and it's automatic lights, so they dip when they meet traffic and they turn on themselves at night time. The previous model had more a textured kind of finish on the automatic lights and the automatic wipers, whereas this time around they've gone for a more minimalist kind of solid and flat looking setup. Okay, the dash clocks, and this is the previous model. Dash clocks in the previous model. I'm getting information in here, average speed, fuel efficiency, all that kind of stuff. The clocks can change depending what setting you're in. So these ones here, then again, like we're saying, the clocks will change depending if you're in eco or sport. And now you can change into different clock modes. So you have this very minimalist one, and then you have this one here, which has, you know, more kind of designs in it. Or you got a really nice classic with these massive kind of digital needles in it. I think that looks really, really cool. And then there's a sport mode, and then there's a medium style B and then a style A. So yeah, no, that's lovely. Oh, there's a lot more customization that you can mix and match with the clock versions. Oh yeah, okay, let's move on from there. Right, after that you're toggling the settings in there for average speed and fuel efficiency and lots of that kind of stuff. Again, let's remind ourselves, this is a whole built section along there, and actually it's hard to see from the video, but I can really see where that's curving over towards me. So that's kind of directly at me, that's curving over towards me. Just to remind ourselves from the previous model, again, that was one independent screen in through there, and another independent screen over through there. And yeah, and that was aiming towards as well. And it was absolutely lovely, but I do like the one full section in through here. This is the latest software in terms of the operating system from Hyundai. So the previous model, we've sold lots of cars over the years with these kind of systems, and this one was quite easy to use and it was quick enough, and that's how it looked. The new one has more settings on it. The icons just seem to be a bit bigger as well. Maybe it's me, but I just find it a little bit more user friendly, and you'd expect that. It's a newer version. The car will have navigation, it will accept postcodes, but obviously a lot of people are going to run for things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And one crucial thing is, on that one we never had, if you went for the entry and second model, you got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but when you went for the range topping version, it was tethered. You had to plug the wire in for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. These new ones now, all the specs are all wireless for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Okay, not an area that people get super excited about, but the heating controls, okay? So I've got driver controls, I got passenger controls, front and rear windscreen demisters, where do I want the air to blow, all touchscreen in through there. Yeah, one of the things on these, nice piano black finish, but you know, you can end up with kind of handprints and things like that. That's just the nature of it, every car's the same. We used to sell Honda before, and they did cop years ago that people were starting to revolt against touchscreen and they wanted more tactile stuff in certain commonly used areas. I'm a big fan of this stuff. Warm or cold, instead of tapping, this is much faster. Sorry, the camera's getting all sorts of interference. This is much faster and more effective than tap, 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 tap. And so is this as well. And to be fair, it makes sense. When you're down here, the next thing you probably would do is use your heated seat or heated steering wheel. So having them kind of in the same area is sort of sensible. What is going on with this camera today? So I just find that quite user friendly. Speed up or slow down, where you want the air to blow, air conditioning on or off, front and rear demisters, all that kind of stuff. Just while I'm there, start stop buttons in through here. There's a nice finish on this actually. It's something I wouldn't have copped on. See that kind of nylon material finish on the dash? It's nice actually. Compared to the previous model where the start stop button was recessed in the plastic housing or cowling along through there. So again, final glance at the previous model, over through here, kind of down and then back up all the way around, and then the center section here. So just keep that in mind while we move into the next model. I really love that bit of storage. I know it sounds like such a small thing, but I just think it's cool looking. This area along through here, fly-by-wire control over through there, and it moves rather than kind of dipping down. It's kind of screens up here, controls over here, and then a long flat section along through there. Okay, one other important aspect we talked about on the outside a second ago. This is the camera. I got a radar here for the rear and a radar for the front, and I have this screen here. I'll have a couple of settings as to what way I want the camera to work. Like what we said, this one's got a camera down here in the front. It's got a rear camera like the other car, and then it's also got cameras on the side. So on this one, when you go for reverse, you get a lot more options. So you have this screen here. If I go into these options here, I can have this screen split. I can also have it looking straight down. I can also have a full screen going backwards. I can also rotate that. This is awesome, right? Look at this crack. So if I go backwards and like the wheels, yeah, the wheels even turn on it when they're going forwards and backwards. How cool is that? Even if I drive forward, it stays on as well, and it's just showing you what's essentially around the vehicle at the moment. I think that's mad. The other thing as well is when I'm driving forward, I can have a front-facing camera. So I can have the front-facing camera to look at the sides, look directly going forward, looking down going forward, full screen going forward. That is just, like, that is what's up in front of me. Isn't that cool? These ones will also have something called traffic cross monitor. Actually, it might be a different phrase on it, but I've seen it on high-spec cars before. So when you're reversing out onto a road, it's looking from outside what you can see in the camera. So there's a van coming down the road. It's outside of what I can see, and you see here, it's already told me about it. and I get the vibrating on the steering before it's even come into the camera. So that's really cool. Another byproduct then is having 360 camera is the blind spot indicator. When someone comes up in your blind spot, this lights up. Just you mightn't have noticed them in your blind spot when you're driving. And then relevant to that is a blind view monitor. So if I turn on the left hand indicator or I turn on the right hand indicator, it's showing me what's down either side of the car. And even like cool neat little things, when I turn on the right hand one, it switches the speedo up in, or sorry, it switches the engine revolutions in through there. If I turn on the left one, it switches the speedo in through there because it's substituting while the blind view monitor's on. So if you've managed to watch the video and stick it all the way through, then I do appreciate it. Hopefully the video has given you a better idea of what's on this newer version of the car. If you want information, 086 843 1945 or Fitzpatrick's Garage, family run business in operation for 70 plus years. So hopefully the video has been useful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.